I'm going to destroy the myth that you need a lot of money to flip. I'm going to speedrun from 100k to 10 mil, and you will see that at any point in the game, anyone could start making millions. As you can see, we started off with NPC flips. We made about 39k and this took 2 minutes. First, I want to quickly go over the rules. Number 1, time starts when you are in Skyblock. Number 2, no cookie buff. Cookie buff is 3 million coins, that's more than 100k. Number 3, you can't just place orders and log off, it has to be within reason. And number 4, the time ends when you have 10 million coins in the purse. Okay, go. I then decided to flip enchanted clay. Basically, you can insta-buy enchanted clay and sell to the NPC for profit. What they won't tell you is this is actually in fact terrible and not at all worth doing. I ended up making somewhere around like 5,000 coins. Not good. While you watch me waste a bunch of time, let's go over why I'm actually doing this challenge. I get asked a lot how to make money with nothing to begin with, and the truth is you don't need to have a lot to start flipping, and this video is proof of that. I then started to branch out and look for some flips. The first one that looked alright was red gifts. It was about 42k per one and you made 8k per flip. I ended up doing this for literally ages, and I honestly have no idea how much I made from it all. All I know is that it was a lot. My method for this item, and let's face it, the entire bazaar, was to make sure that I was the top order for as long as possible. And the way that I did that is undercut everyone. MVP of this video is Bazaar Notifier, letting me know when any cretins undercut me. There are a lot of times like this where I sat and waited for flips to buy or sell, and in these times I could have logged off and saved time, but it felt like it would go against the spirit of the challenge since I didn't actually need to log off. So what I ended up doing in these times was actually insta-buying clay again and selling it, because I figured it was better than sitting around and doing absolutely nothing. The red gifts were doing pretty well, as I would often have 3 or 4 buying and selling at one time, and each of them making around 8k. This was really starting to add up. But I couldn't find anything else at that time. I was desperate to diversify with new items because it meant instead of waiting for people to insta-sell or buy one item, I could do that with a range of items and make more money. And of course, you already know, I continued to insta-buy clay. In hindsight, I probably should have just kept looking for an item because eventually, as you'll find out, I end up finding an item that makes me so much money. But before that, with this collection, I have hit my first milestone of 250k in 23.5 minutes. Honestly, not sure if that's good. I guess technically I've more than doubled my money, so cool. There is a long way to go though. And after a few more red present flips, I had finally found it. I had found an item, and that item was the Necromancer brooch. Honestly, at this point, I thought for sure this item was too good to be true. There's about a 50k margin on an item that only cost 25,000 coins. And in exactly 1 minute and 23 seconds, I had bought my first one. Now, as long as this sold, I was going to be making a lot of money. Another 8 seconds pass, and the item sells, profiting me 70,000 coins in under 2 minutes. And the profits started to skyrocket. This is the break that I had been looking for. All I was doing at this point was just buying and selling red presents and Necromancer brooches, and I was making a lot of money. And there we go, 500k achieved. It took me 23.5 minutes to get to 250k, and to get the next 250k took me just over 7 minutes. But things did not stop there. We went straight back to the Necromancer brooches and the red presents, and a few more enchanted clay for absolutely no reason at all. Now that I had passed the 500k point, I started to look for some more expensive items. The first one that looked good was a giant's tooth. Each one was 250k and sold for 400k. So if you see any buy, just know that I've made 150k profit, which is huge at this point. What you should expect when you're flipping is that the more money that you have, the more expensive items you can buy, and the more expensive items you can buy typically comes with a larger margin. So from this point forward, along with my normal flips, I was also trying to have one order of giant's teeth in at all times. We were really making progress. The flips that I had managed to find were doing us really well. And to add to that, it didn't take too long and we had bought and sold our first giant's tooth, profiting us 150k. Things continued like this for a little while with not much changing. I did try a few other items that I ended up not working for me, but I'm not going to mention those. Fast forward a little bit, I wanted to share a sequence that was really insane. I buy and sell 6 Necromancer brooches and 2 giant's teeth. Tooths? I don't know, but it made me 720k in less than 3 minutes. I had 1.6 mil cash, and at this point I decided I wanted to go to the auction house. I missed a few flips, including an aspect of the dragon. Quick side note, what has happened to the price of an aspect of the dragon? 1.3 mil is absurd. I never thought I would see the day that a flower of truth was cheaper than an aspect of the dragon. Anyway, I didn't have enough money for the items I really wanted, so back to the bazaar for me. I then continued on the exact same way that I had been going for the last little while, and the reason for that is because it was working. And when you're flipping, if you find a few flips that work for you, you would be very silly to try to change that. So I just continued on like this, but for the sake of content, I tried a few other things, such as the fur balls that you're seeing here. I bought those for 200k and I was going to be able to sell them for 300k, but as you'll find out, it didn't quite work out for me, as I basically just ran out of patience and sold them instantly. So, but in this period, the item that was making me the most money was these giant's teeth. Every one that I bought was just such a massive injection of money into the account, which was helping with the progression of this challenge quite a bit. Although the Necromancer brooch was just a really nice source of consistent money as well, so it's hard to know which one was actually better. I then decided to buy some swarm books, because from the looks they were like 200k profit each, so I placed an order for 2 of them. And I wanted to show this here actually. Here you're watching me collect 2 Necromancer brooches and listing them back up again, and if you have a look, they're actually 250k profit basically for that. So I think that it's pretty much decided that Necromancer brooches did do better for me overall. I then decided that I would go back to the auction house, but as it were, I didn't have enough money again for the same item that I wanted, which was Ancient Crimson Armor, and it was the last thing searched, and this is the biggest shame of all. This item here, this Ancient Crimson chestplate, was 2 million coins, and I could have sold it for 2.7 had I had that money, which I did not have. I then missed another aspect of the dragons, which I wasn't too upset about because it was only like 200k profit, but still, seriously. So like a good boy, I went back to the bazaar where I belong. After a few more flips and the fact that I actually forgot that I had 2 orders of Swarm 1 books and not 1, I cancelled that order, and in 1 hour and 17 minutes, I had finally reached 2.5 mil. I actually had a bit more than 2.5 mil, but that's all I had in my purse, so that's all that I was counting. Enjoy the short clip bash of every flip that I got in the next few minutes. And finally, I went back to the auction house and looked at Ancient Crimson Armor, and to my absolute surprise, like 20 minutes later, that same item was still there and still available for me to buy. So I picked it up, did a few more flips, and I called it a day. The reason that I called it a day was basically because most of my money was tied up in the Ancient Crimson chestplate, so there was not much more for me to do. Thanks for watching, see you in part 2.